beautiful London skyline, and we're in the Royal Borough of Greenwich, and we're here at a palace that so many people don't know about. It's Eltham Palace, and guess where it is? Yes, it's in Eltham. So stick with us, because we're not only going to show you inside the house, but we're going to show you the fantastic grounds around the outside. And that is the Great Hall you can see there on the right. Okay, let's start our tour on the inside. The palace is quite clearly in two defined parts. Now, the original palace dates back to the 1300s, but in the 1930s an Art Deco extension was added to it, and that's what we're in right now as a start. So not only do you get a feel for some royal history from way back when, but you get some Art Deco style from the 30s as well. Now, the family that lived here will tell you more about it, but they had their own lemur, who had his own room, but he also had stairs which let him get out underneath his room and have the run of the whole place. So we're going to tell you the history of the palace, but we're going to start by going more recent, and then we'll go back in time when we go outside and look around the gardens, because it feels a lot more like it at that point. So in 1933, Stephen Courtauld and his wife Virginia Courtauld acquired a 99-year lease on the palace site and commissioned some people to restore the hall and create a modern home and attach it to the palace. Or at least what was left of the palace. Now, we've seen the bathroom already, but this is the circular bedroom of Virginia Courtauld, and also with the adjoining bathroom, and was designed by an Italian designer at the time. Also in one of the adjoining rooms here, you've got some stained glass, so let's just have a close look at that. And without doubt, this has got to be my favourite piece of the stained glass here, Elizabeth I. Now, the house itself, this is the best bit, because this is the original piece and would have been the original Grand Hall. And do you recognise there's sort of hammer beam roof style, same as that at the Palace of Westminster, and we've also seen it at Hampton Court as well. And it's quite interesting because this gallery that I'm standing on here was designed by the designers in the 1930s, but they took their inspiration from Hampton Court for the Minstrels Gallery there, and also at Trinity College in Cambridge. If you're touring the house, this is the only place where you can actually see the Great Hall. You can't go downstairs and into it, but you can imagine the kings and queens of previous years, and we'll go into that history very soon, sitting at a table at the very end there, having their banquets. And to give you a taste of the kings and queens, this is where Henry VIII and his sisters were brought up. Yes, that good a royalty, but more to come on that a little bit later. But just to take this in, because this is the original part of the palace here at Eltham Palace, which so many people haven't heard of. Now, this is one of the kitchens, of course, converted in the 1930s, and this is what I mean by the lemur, by having a run of the house. Yes, you could get up and down this ladder and get down to the ground floor. And here you've got one of the original types of telephones set up within the house. Because, of course, if you've got that much money and you're converting a palace into your own home residence, you may as well put in the latest luxury things. So here we're in the outskirts of the main kitchen area, but what it also leads off to is down into this bunker, which was used quite extensively during World War II. Stephen Courtauld, who owned the house at the time, was a local member of the Civil Defence Service, and he was on duty in September 1940 when the Great Hall roof caught fire and it was badly damaged by a German incendiary device. And then in 1944 the Courtauld family moved to Scotland and then to southern Rhodesia, which of course is now Zambia. Then they gave the palace to the Royal Army Educational Corps in March 1945. And how about this for a statement of an entrance hall? And just look at the light coming down from above. So it really does light it up in here. So not only have you got that, you've got all the wooden panellings, plus also you've got this marquetry here on the walls just by the door as you come in. A real Art Deco statement being made in the 1930s, and also showing the different places that the family had visited. And let's face it, if you're going to have people over to dinner, you're going to really want to show off one of your big rooms. So why not show off this one, which is the dining room, and as you can see, everything laid out ready for entertainment. So I'd be really interested to know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think of this? So it's an old palace which has then been converted into this Art Deco style. And is this the sort of style that you like? Let us know in the comments down below. I must admit I was rather disappointed because I was expecting to come to Eltham Palace with all its royal history, which we'll, don't forget, we will tell you more about. But actually when you come in and you find you've got a lot of this and you've got some great antiques and some great things from way back when, which were obviously collected, and also a sort of 1930s Art Deco style, I was sort of disappointed. I was expecting something a lot more historic. Although, well done to English Heritage, who actually own and look after the building because they've kept it in a great way. And also, they really do attract the visitors here. So it is a great place to come. And here you can really see the detail in the wood panelling. It's like having a couple of sentries on duty right by the doors as you enter. So out in the middle we showed you the entrance lounge. Well, how about having a full lounge yourself and putting in loads and loads of art, something really nice and comfortable, and of course a lovely piano to entertain your guests whilst they're staying at your place. Right, let's get outside and have a look at the fantastic grounds because they are wonderful. But here you can see the old hall on the right and the old new extension which was put on the left hand side of it. And here you've got the old walls and footings of the original palace area, which are of course cordoned off so no one falls over and hurts themselves, but it gives you an idea here at the front garden of how it extended round. And of course, if you've got a large palace, you need your water supply. So how about this well with a crest on it as well? So the original palace was given to Edward II in 1305 by the Bishop of Durham, Anthony Beck, and was used as a royal residence from the 14th to the 16th century. And according to one account, the incident which inspired Edward III's foundation of the Order of the Garter took place here at Eltham Palace. The gardens are fantastic and you really are encouraged to walk around, but how about that? You've got that conservatory that's been more modern built, but the great hall just expands down the side of the garden there and looks fantastic. And you can imagine the area down below to the right there being an original moat with that bridge going across it. And yes, you can still walk across it today, and we will do a little bit later in the video. I couldn't resist. As this was the favourite palace of Henry IV, it played host to Manuel II Palaiologos, the only Byzantine emperor ever to visit England from December 1400 to the mid-February 1401, with a joust being given in his honour in the grounds. Now, how about this? Yes, you can walk around all of these different places, and this takes you down below, underneath part of the garden, and into the lower moat. One thing to bear in mind, it is quite low, and at 6'2", which is what I am, I did have to stoop down here. So if you're a bit smaller than me, then you'll have no problem. Oh, also, it's quite uneven as well, of course, because it dates back to medieval times. And then you've got these steps, and then you're in the moat. I really hope you're enjoying our video of here of Eltham Palace, and if you are, do us a favour, give us a thumbs up, will you? That'll help spread this video out to more people on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go on, hit the button and also hit the notifications so we can tell you every time we upload a new video, which is at least 3 times a week on this channel. As you look around the moat, you could get a feeling from the medieval times. This is why I just prefer the outside part as opposed to the interior, which is the more Art Deco stuff. And just look at that fantastic bridge going across. But also along the moat here as well, they planted fantastic flower beds. So once again, it's absolutely beautiful with all the colours. And just look at those original walls, which would have held the original palace inside it as well. The great hall that we've seen was built by Edward IV in the 1470s, and the future Henry VIII grew up here, and it was here in 1499 that he met and impressed the scholar Erasmus, introduced to him by Thomas More. Erasmus himself described the occasion as, "I had been carried off by Thomas More, who had come to pay me a visit on an estate of Mountjoy's, the house of Lord Mountjoy near Greenwich, where I was staying, to take a walk by way of diversion as far as the nearest town, Eltham. For there all the royal children were being educated, Arthur alone excepted, the eldest son. When we came to the hall, all the retinue was assembled, not only that of the palace, but Mountjoy's as well. In the midst stood Henry, aged 9, already with certain royal demeanour. I mean a dignity of mind combined with remarkable courtesy. More with his companion Arnold saluted Henry, the present King of England, and presented to him something in writing. I, who was expecting nothing of the sort, had nothing to offer, but I promised that somehow, at some other time, I would show my duty towards him. At the time, I was slightly indignant with More for having given me no warning, especially because the boy, during dinner, sent me a note inviting something from my pen. I went home and thought the Muses, from whom I had lived apart so long, where unwilling, I finished a poem in 3 days. As I've said before, the garden really does open itself up for a great walk down. But if you come down this slope here and then go down some steps, you're actually going to come to the original moat. But the moat has now got water in this section of it, which really opens up beautifully and shows you the side of the palace. If you are coming here and do the walk the way that I've done it, it leaves this fantastic view to near the end before you leave the palace. And just look at that. And also when you get down close, as you'll see in a second, the moat here is full of koi carp. Again, just look at those walls and the history that they will have held in them. The Tudor courts often used the palace for their Christmas celebrations. With the grand rebuilding of Greenwich Palace, which was more easily reached by the river, Eltham was less frequented, save for hunting in its enclosed parks, easily reached from Greenwich, as well enjoyed the court lying at Greenwich, as if it were a house itself. The deer remained plentiful in the Great Park, which consisted of 596 acres, or the Little or Middle Park of 333 acres, and the Home Park or Lee Park of 336 acres. The courtier Roger Aston was the keeper of the little park at Eltham in 1610 and built 4 bridges for the convenience of James VI and I. By the 1630s, the palace was no longer being used by the royal family, and Sir Anthony van Dyck was given the use of a suite of rooms as a country retreat. During the English Civil War, the parks were denuded of trees and deer. John Evelyn saw it in the 26th of April 1656, and he wrote, "Went to see His Majesty's house at Eltham, both the palace and chapel in miserable ruins, the noble wood and park destroyed by Rich the rebel." The palace never really recovered, and Eltham was bestowed by Charles II on John Shaw in its ruinous condition, reduced to Edward IV's Great Hall, the former buttery called Court House, and a bridge across the moat, and some walling, which we've just seen, which is absolutely incredible, and it remained with Shaw's descendants as late as 1893. So let's talk about getting here, because actually to get to Eltham Palace Gardens from central London, it's not that difficult. You need to get to a station called Mottingham, that's Nottingham but with an M for mother, and if you put that into your Google, that will tell you your nearest train journey, how to get here. And also the trains leave quite frequently from Charing Cross station, so actually it's really easy to get here. And then when you get off at Mottingham station, it's about a 10-minute walk. It's uphill on the way, but the good news is once you finish doing your tour, it's downhill on the way back. Now for me, this has got to be one of the most beautiful views of the palace on the outside, because not only have you got that fantastic weeping willow right there in the centre of the moat, but you've also got the fantastic original bridge which we just talked about, which is just going across there, taking you over the moat from the palace to the roads. If you're thinking of coming down here and have accessibility concerns, I would just give you a word of caution. Of course, because the palace, some of it dating back way back when, but also it's on different step levels as well. Of course, there aren't lifts and things like that in place, so just do bear that in mind. And if you want to find out any more details, just contact English Heritage directly and they will give you more information. And I love this because you've got a rose garden here which smells absolutely beautiful. So if you get a chance, just come and have a little walk around. It's a very, very small area, but come and have a look at the roses and come and just take in the ambience that it provides. Now, any visit to a stately home wouldn't be a visit without going to the cafe after, so as you can see they've got one of those all set up. So what did you think of our visit here to Eltham Palace? Is it something you'd heard of, and is it somewhere you'll come in the future? Do let us know in the comments down below. Now, if you enjoyed coming to a palace, let's take you to an even more royal palace. We're going to Hampton Court, and I've put that video up in the top right hand corner for you. So if you click on that, I'll see you in there.